Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to float among a crown of cosmic jewels? To drift silently above Saturn, watching countless icy fragments glide in perfect harmony? Tonight, we'll do just that, traveling together through the mysterious and mesmerizing rings of Saturn. Before we begin, if you haven't already, subscribe to The Thoughtful Night and leave a comment telling me where in the world you're joining from. Imagine your location as a small dot in the vast universe. Yet here we are, sharing this quiet journey together. Close your eyes or simply soften your gaze, and let your mind begin to drift. Picture Saturn far away in the black velvet of space, a golden sphere surrounded by sparkling, endless rings. Each particle, from tiny dust grains to chunks as large as mountains, orbits the planet in a slow, silent ballet, an eternal dance that has captivated humans for centuries. From Earth, these rings seem like delicate strokes of light, but up close, they are a complex world of ice, rock, and shadow. And though we cannot physically stand on them, tonight, through imagination and curiosity, we will move as if we could. We will glide between the icy lanes, watch light fracture into subtle glimmers, and feel the quiet rhythm of one of the solar system's most exquisite creations. Throughout this journey, I'll share the science behind these rings, their composition, their mysterious origins, the moons that shepherd their paths, and the subtle waves that ripple through them. But more than that, we'll pause often to simply wonder, to breathe in the beauty of a system older than human memory, and to let your mind float gently among Saturn's celestial rings. As we begin, take a deep breath in, and slowly let it out. Let the soft glow of Saturn's rings fill your imagination. Let your thoughts settle like particles gently falling into orbit. Tonight is a journey of calm, curiosity, and quiet amazement. A journey that will carry you through the science and the poetry of Saturn's most iconic feature. And now, let us drift, slowly, silently, into the golden embrace of Saturn's rings, where mystery and wonder await in every shimmering lane. Far across the vast solar system, a golden sphere drifts gracefully in the cold silence of space. Saturn, with its gentle glow and majestic presence, seems almost alive, a silent sentinel watching over its planetary companions. Its hue is a warm amber, tinged with whispers of pale yellow and soft cream, each shade blending into the next like brushstrokes across a cosmic canvas. The planet's surface shimmers faintly, cloud bands stretching in delicate patterns that shift slowly, as though breathing in rhythm with the universe itself. Saturn holds a unique position among its planetary siblings, a giant surpassed only by Jupiter in sheer mass, yet possessing a charm all its own. Where Jupiter roars with storm and color, Saturn whispers in golden light, a more subtle expression of cosmic grandeur. Its diameter is more than 9 times that of Earth, yet its density is so low that it could, in theory, float atop a vast celestial ocean. A dreamlike thought, though no water could ever contain such a titan. Orbital paths draw Saturn along a distant arc, circling the Sun once every 29 Earth years, slow and deliberate, as if marking time on a grander scale. Humanity has looked upon Saturn for centuries, marveling at its delicate form even through primitive telescopes. Galileo was the first to glimpse hints of its rings in the early 17th century, though he could not yet understand what he saw. Across civilizations, Saturn has inspired stories, myths, and wonder. To the Romans, it was the god of time and harvest, a figure both distant and intimately connected to the cycles of human life. In the night sky, Saturn has always been a point of quiet reflection, a reminder that the universe extends far beyond our immediate grasp, that mystery and beauty exist on scales both enormous and sublime. Even before humans understood the science behind it, Saturn's rings cast a spell. Observers have written of the ring's delicate brilliance, a faint halo wrapping the planet in silver and gold, delicate yet vast. Early sketches tried to capture the elegance of these formations, crude lines on parchment hinting at the splendor hidden in the dark. Over centuries, as telescopes improved, more detail emerged. Shadows, gaps, and faint layers revealed themselves, teasing the mind with questions of origin, structure, and motion. Curiosity bloomed like a gentle tide, pulling astronomers ever closer to the edge of understanding. The rings themselves are the reason Saturn stands apart in the pantheon of planets. No other world in our solar system displays such magnificent adornment with such clarity. When viewed through modern instruments, the rings appear as concentric bands of ice and rock, flowing in perfect symmetry around the planet's equator. They catch sunlight and scatter it into a soft, shimmering glow, a halo that seems almost alive in its quiet rotation. The mind cannot help but pause here, suspended in wonder, imagining the gentle hum of countless particles drifting in orbit, a cosmic music beyond hearing yet deeply felt. As we consider the rings, we begin to ask questions that blend curiosity with awe. How did these rings come to exist? Are they remnants of a shattered moon, frozen fragments of creation, or the leftover material of a primordial disk that birthed Saturn itself? Observations from Earth and from spacecraft hint at answers, yet the full story remains elusive. Every discovery opens another window onto the unknown, revealing layers of complexity that seem to mirror the quiet intricacies of life itself. Beneath the grandeur of Saturn's clouds and beneath the glowing rings lies a planet of contrasts. Its core is dense and warm, a hidden furnace surrounded by layers of gas that ripple with storms, yet all is veiled by the calm, reflective surface we see from afar. Saturn embodies both mystery and familiarity, a world distant in space but intimately close in the human imagination. Gazing at it reminds us that beauty does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers, inviting careful attention, meditation, and reverence. And so, as we prepare to drift closer to Saturn's embrace, we allow ourselves to linger on the edge of curiosity. Let the amber light of the planet wash over your mind. Let the delicate outline of the rings settle into your thoughts. Here, at the threshold of understanding, wonder takes the lead. In the quiet reflection of Saturn's golden glow, we sense both the vastness of the cosmos and the still, precious space for human imagination. Soon, our attention will turn inward toward the rings themselves, the ice and rock that form a silent, intricate dance. But for now, linger a moment longer in the presence of Saturn, the jewel of the solar system, whose majesty has inspired generations to look upward, dream bigger, and question endlessly. It is here, in this place of quiet awe, that our journey begins. Floating above Saturn's rings, one might imagine stepping into a delicate symphony of ice and stone. The particles shimmer faintly in the sunlight, each fragment tracing a precise orbit, yet moving in subtle harmony with countless companions. Some are smaller than a grain of sand, drifting lazily in the thin space between their neighbors. Others are the size of boulders, and a few might rival a modest house in scale, spinning silently as they glide along the planet's equatorial plane. The sheer number is staggering: billions, perhaps trillions of fragments, each participating in an eternal cosmic ballet. At first glance, the rings seem smooth and uniform, a shimmering band encircling Saturn in golden embrace. But closer observation reveals complexity beyond imagination. Each particle carries its own story, etched in ice and stone. Some are coated in frost from eons of exposure to sunlight, giving them a gentle sparkle that can catch the eye from millions of kilometers away. Others bear the scars of collisions, jagged edges hinting at long-forgotten encounters with fellow fragments. Even in stillness, the rings are alive, a restless, breathing tapestry of matter. The composition of these particles is largely ice, with traces of rock and dust. This icy nature explains the brilliance of the rings, allowing them to reflect sunlight in a way that transforms Saturn into a jewel of the solar system. Tiny grains of water ice scatter light like diamonds scattered on a velvet surface. As the angle of the sun changes, the rings shift from silver to gold, from pale blue to warm amber. These shifts are slow and hypnotic, a natural rhythm that invites the mind to quiet observation, letting the imagination drift across endless ice fields suspended in space. Collisions among the particles are gentle, rarely violent on a human scale. The fragments nudge, bounce, and grind against one another, their tiny impacts producing patterns of ripples that echo across the rings. Over time, these interactions create waves, gaps, and spirals, structures that are simultaneously ordered and chaotic. It is a dance governed by gravity, a quiet choreography where each piece follows rules older than humanity, yet produces forms of beauty that feel almost deliberate. As we imagine hovering just above this frozen sea, the silence is profound. There is no wind, no sound as we know it, yet motion is everywhere. Particles orbit at different speeds, creating subtle shifts in density that ripple through the bands. The inner rings move faster, while outer fragments lag slightly behind. This variation produces waves that propagate outward, a cosmic whisper of rhythm that speaks to the deep, patient laws of the universe. One can almost feel the slow pulse of this enormous system, a heartbeat measured in hours, days, and years rather than seconds. The mind can wander further, imagining the scale of this spectacle. If a single fragment were enlarged to the size of a house, the vast majority of its neighbors would still stretch endlessly in all directions. This perspective inspires a quiet humility, a sense of smallness tempered by awe. Each particle, no matter how tiny, participates in a magnificent order that spans tens of thousands of kilometers, an arrangement of matter that is at once delicate and immense. Within this grand composition, light and shadow play endlessly. Sunlight glances off icy surfaces, illuminating edges and casting subtle shadows across nearby particles. Rings can appear as layers of translucent silk, their edges soft, almost imperceptible, blending one into the next. Between the dense bands lie gaps, spaces where the absence of material creates contrast, accentuating the elegance of the orbiting fragments. The interplay of light, shadow, and motion transforms Saturn's rings into a living work of art, a quiet masterpiece forged by the cosmos itself. Even the smallest grains participate in the cosmic conversation. Dust particles, too tiny to reflect much light, drift along paths shaped by gravity and the gentle push of Saturn's magnetosphere. They create faint, almost invisible halos that extend beyond the main rings, subtle veils that remind the observer of the ring's vast, three-dimensional structure. Every fragment, regardless of size, contributes to the total effect, weaving a complex narrative of motion and form. Imagining this scene from above, the mind is invited to slow down, to match the pace of Saturn's rings. There is no urgency here, only the patient, precise movement of countless fragments. Collisions, orbits, and gentle nudges continue silently, an eternal ballet performed in near-perfect harmony. This dance of ice and rock is not merely a spectacle. It is a meditation on balance, a reflection of order emerging from simplicity, a quiet harmony spanning space and time. As we prepare to draw nearer to the mystery of these rings, questions arise naturally. How did such intricate structures form? What forces maintain this precise choreography? Are these rings permanent or fleeting, destined to fade over time? Each particle is a clue, a fragment of a story that began billions of years ago, whispering secrets to those who can pause long enough to listen. And so, suspended above this glittering sea, we let our gaze wander, tracing the paths of individual fragments as they circle Saturn. Each orbit is a meditation on motion, each collision a reminder of cosmic patience. The dance continues, unceasing, unobserved for most of human history, yet now revealed in fleeting glimpses through the eyes of spacecraft and the imagination of those who study them. In the quiet glow of Saturn's rings, the mind can find stillness, wonder, and a profound connection to the eternal rhythms of the universe. Even as Saturn's rings glide silently around their giant host, the question of their origin lingers like a whisper carried across the void. Were these rings born from shattered moons, remnants of ancient collisions long past? Or do they represent primordial material, lingering since the formation of the planet itself? The mystery stretches across time, inviting reflection on processes far older than human history, processes that have shaped this cosmic jewel in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. The earliest observers of Saturn glimpsed hints of the rings through crude telescopes. In 1610, Galileo peered at the planet and noted what appeared to be ears or handles on its sides, a description born of curiosity and wonder, but limited by the tools of his era. Later, Christian Huygens, using more refined lenses, identified the rings as a flat, thin disk encircling Saturn, marking the beginning of centuries of study. Even with modern instruments, the fundamental question persists. How did such intricate, delicate structures come to exist? Several scientific theories attempt to answer this riddle, each offering a different vision of Saturn's past. One proposes that the rings are remnants of a moon that ventured too close to Saturn, torn apart by tidal forces in a violent, slow-motion fracture. Another theory suggests the rings formed from leftover material that failed to coalesce into a satellite, small fragments remaining in orbit, gradually spreading into the broad, shimmering bands we observe today. A more controversial idea posits that Saturn's rings are as old as the planet itself, primordial structures formed from the same dust and ice that shaped the early solar system. Each explanation carries its own beauty and complexity, yet none can fully account for the delicate intricacy we witness. Throughout history, the rings have inspired wonder and speculation. In the 18th and 19th centuries, astronomers like William Herschel and Johann Encke meticulously recorded observations, noting the changing widths, gaps, and brightness variations. Their sketches reveal both the limitations of early telescopes and the meticulous dedication of minds striving to decode the universe. Observers noted that the rings seemed to pulse with motion, that shadows shifted, and that subtle gaps appeared and disappeared. These records, now centuries old, form a dialogue across time, connecting human curiosity to the enduring mystery of Saturn's halo. Modern spacecraft, from Voyager to Cassini, have brought unprecedented clarity to these questions. Cassini, in particular, revealed layers within layers, waves and ripples sculpted by the gravity of Saturn and its moons. We now know that some rings are relatively young, perhaps only a few 100 million years old, suggesting that Saturn's system is dynamic, constantly evolving. Collisions between particles, interactions with moons, and the slow drag of interplanetary material all play roles in shaping the ring's lifespan. Even with such insights, the origin story remains incomplete, a puzzle suspended in time, teasing our imagination. There is a poetic tension in this uncertainty. The rings are at once familiar and elusive, their patterns predictable yet mysterious. Each fragment, each wave and gap, carries a memory of processes that occurred long before humans first gazed upward. The ring's icy surfaces may have witnessed the birth of Saturn itself, the migration of planets, and perhaps even the scattering of early comets across the solar system. They are, in essence, frozen archives, preserving the echoes of cosmic history. As we contemplate the ring's origin, it becomes clear that science and wonder are intertwined. Observations and models provide pieces of the puzzle, yet the emotional resonance, the awe, the quiet contemplation is equally essential. There is a profound beauty in acknowledging that some questions may remain unanswered for centuries, that the universe holds secrets not to frustrate us, but to invite patience, curiosity, and reflection. The rings remind us that even in vastness, order and complexity can emerge, and that mystery itself can be a source of comfort and inspiration. Beyond the scientific theories and historical records lies the human impulse to connect with this distant world. Artists, poets, and writers have long drawn inspiration from Saturn's rings, translating their silent motion into metaphor and imagery. The rings become a mirror for our own fascination with time, with the passage of ages, and with the fragile persistence of structure in a chaotic cosmos. Gazing at Saturn, whether through a telescope or through the lens of imagination, is an act of communion across centuries, a bridge between the finite human experience and the infinite rhythms of the universe. As the rings shimmer in their golden embrace, one begins to notice the interplay of light and shadow, the glint of icy fragments, the subtle gaps that hint at unseen forces. These visual details are not mere decoration. They are signatures of history, echoes of events that shaped Saturn's system long before our first observations. Each gap may mark a past collision, each wave a gravitational tug, each sparkle a fragment that has survived eons of cosmic motion. The story is written not in words but in motion, in patterns, in the gentle, unceasing dance of ice and rock. And so, as our attention drifts over the rings, curiosity naturally turns inward. How do such patterns persist? What unseen forces maintain this delicate balance? These questions guide us gently to the next contemplation: the ring's interaction with light, and the way that sunlight transforms ice and rock into a spectacle of color and shadow. From their origins lost in time, we now turn to the luminous beauty that has captivated human eyes for centuries. A silent poetry written in frozen particles, glinting and dancing in Saturn's eternal orbit. Sunlight falling across Saturn's rings transforms them into a realm of subtle brilliance, a spectacle that seems almost too delicate for the vastness of space. The thin layers of ice and rock catch the light at different angles, scattering it in a soft symphony of glints and glimmers. To imagine the view from just above the rings is to witness a universe painted in pale golds, silvers, and icy blues, each fragment reflecting a story of origin, collision, and slow-motion orbit. Here, even the emptiest spaces, the thin gaps and dark divisions, become part of the artwork, shadows accentuating the shimmer, creating rhythm in stillness. The rings themselves are astonishingly thin, a mere fraction of Saturn's size in vertical height. While they stretch across hundreds of thousands of kilometers, their depth rarely exceeds a kilometer, forming a delicate sheet of floating fragments. In these narrow layers, sunlight plays with ice crystals, creating variations in brightness that seem almost alive. The most familiar rings, labeled A, B, and C, appear solid from afar, yet they are composed of countless particles, each casting its own tiny shadow, each catching and reflecting light in ways both predictable and surprising. Gaps within the rings add contrast and drama. The Cassini division, a wide and well-known separation between the A and B rings, offers a window into the subtle forces shaping the system. Moons and gravity waves sculpt these gaps, but the visual effect is profound. Darkness and light, emptiness and motion, coexisting in harmony. Other narrow gaps appear almost like brushstrokes, shadows etched into a canvas of ice, guiding the eye across the ring's expanse. These contrasts heighten the sense of depth, revealing layers and textures that are invisible from a distant vantage point. Sunlight does more than merely illuminate. It interacts with the rings in ways that reveal their composition. Short wavelengths of light scatter differently than long wavelengths, and the icy surfaces sometimes appear bluish or reddish depending on particle size and angle. Tiny grains reflect more light, shimmering like frost, while larger chunks catch and diffuse sunlight more subtly, creating a tapestry of shimmer and shadow. The effect is hypnotic, a gentle reminder that even in the emptiest regions of space, light can bring complexity and beauty to the simplest materials. Modern instruments have deepened our understanding of these luminous patterns. The Hubble Space Telescope, with its sharp vision, captures the ring's subtle variations from Earth orbit, while the Cassini spacecraft provided unprecedented close-up views. Cassini's cameras recorded sunlight bouncing off individual particles, waves rippling through the rings, and the interplay of shadows cast by embedded moons. These images allow us to hear the rings in silence, to sense the slow-motion ballet of particles illuminated by the distant sun. Science transforms perception, yet the emotional resonance remains. Awe, serenity, and wonder at a spectacle both natural and ephemeral. Beyond physics, there is poetry in the interaction of light and shadow. Golden glints along the ring edges resemble threads woven into a cosmic tapestry, while thin ice bands sparkle like frost catching the first rays of dawn. As you imagine floating above the rings, the silence is complete, yet the visual motion suggests life, a gentle, almost breathing rhythm. Shadows move across icy surfaces as the planet rotates, gaps widen and contract in gravitational dialogue, and every reflection carries a whisper of Saturn's presence, quiet but persistent. The thin layers of particles also produce phenomena invisible from Earth's surface. Enceladus and other moons cast shadows across the rings at specific angles, while sunlight glances off tiny particles, producing faint glows even in the darkest regions. These subtle interactions are akin to a painter working with translucent materials, each shift of perspective changing the composition entirely. The interplay of color, light, and shadow creates a meditative rhythm, inviting the observer to linger, to drift in thought, and to feel the quiet pulse of cosmic time. As you imagine the rings shimmering under the sun's gaze, there is a sense of both permanence and fragility. Though composed of countless individual particles, the structure as a whole appears remarkably stable, yet it is constantly evolving. Collisions, gravitational nudges, and interplanetary dust subtly alter brightness and pattern, reminding us that even the most enduring beauty in the universe is never entirely still. Light and shadow become markers of passage, a visual representation of time in its slowest, most patient form. The dance of illumination also highlights the uniqueness of Saturn's rings. While other planets possess faint, narrow bands, none capture the same interplay of scale, thickness, and reflective brilliance. Saturn's rings are more than ice and rock. They are a medium through which the sun communicates with space, revealing texture, motion, and the hidden artistry of orbital physics. Each glint of light, each subtle shadow, tells a story of interaction, history, and quiet persistence. And as the mind drifts across these luminous layers, curiosity naturally turns toward the hidden sculptors of the rings. Tiny moons, invisible to the naked eye from Earth, shape gaps and edges, guiding the motion of particles in a slow, graceful ballet. Their presence, subtle yet undeniable, hints at the profound connections between gravity, motion, and beauty in this frozen, shining system. From the golden shimmer of light and shadow, we are gently led to the next meditation. The shepherd moons, those small celestial artists guiding the endless dance of ice and rock. Amid the vast expanse of Saturn's rings, small moons drift quietly, almost imperceptible yet profoundly influential. These shepherd moons, delicate as whispers, trace paths alongside or within the rings, guiding particles with gentle gravitational hands. Though diminutive compared to the giant planet they orbit, their presence shapes the entire system, sculpting gaps, waves, and edges with precision born of natural law. In their silent work, we glimpse the subtle artistry of the cosmos, where even the smallest actors leave an indelible mark. Take Prometheus and Pandora, for example, dancing along the edges of the narrow F-ring. Their movements are measured and slow, yet every orbit nudges ice and rock, maintaining the ring's delicate structure. Without them, the F-ring might spread into chaos, losing its thin, braided beauty. Visualize them from above. Tiny shapes tracing invisible paths, herding particles in a rhythm so slow it borders on eternity. Their gravitational influence, though gentle, is constant, a cosmic heartbeat keeping order within apparent disorder. The concept of shepherd moons extends beyond mere shape. Waves ripple through the rings, density variations appearing like faint ripples across water. Each ripple is a trace of a moon's tug, a gravitational fingerprint that can extend thousands of kilometers across the icy expanse. As you imagine floating above these waves, they seem to pulse in quiet time, rising and falling in a pattern both predictable and endlessly fascinating. Science names these effects, yet poetry lingers. The rings are a symphony of motion, and the moons are the conductors guiding each note. Embedded within the rings themselves are other tiny moons, invisible to casual observation but detectable through their gravitational effects. These moonlets carve gaps, shepherd swaths of particles, and maintain boundaries with meticulous precision. Even collisions between particles in their path follow predictable patterns, echoing the slow, deliberate choreography of celestial mechanics. Here, chaos and order coexist, a reminder that the universe achieves balance not through stasis but through dynamic interaction. The sculpting effect of moons is not limited to gaps. Spiral waves radiate outward, faint undulations visible even in close-up imagery captured by Cassini. These waves are the signatures of moon's gravitational pulls, subtle yet profound reminders that every fragment in Saturn's rings is subject to countless influences. To imagine them is to sense the interconnectedness of all things. Moon and ring, particle and planet, gravity and motion, each part contributing to a harmonious whole. Yet there is poetry in this precision. Tiny moons guide icy particles, yet no hand touches them. Every nudge is an invisible force, every shift a quiet negotiation of celestial geometry. The particles themselves respond with a grace that seems deliberate, a silent acknowledgement of the moon's presence. From a distance, the rings appear solid, stable, and eternal. Up close, they are alive, a constantly adjusting, shimmering sea of ice and rock, shaped by these unseen choreographers. Observing the rings through the eyes of instruments like Cassini reveals astonishing detail. Shadows cast by moons fall across the icy expanse, highlighting layers and textures invisible from Earth. Particles cluster along wave crests, forming ephemeral patterns that shift with each orbit. These subtle effects, captured in sequences of images, allow us to appreciate the immense patience and precision of natural law. In their slow motion, we find a meditative rhythm, an echo of time moving differently across the cosmos. Even the tiniest moons contribute to the visual poetry of the rings. Pan, nestled within the Enki gap, maintains a clear channel, preventing particles from wandering into chaos. Daphnis, moving through the Keeler gap, creates waves that ripple outward like tiny disturbances in a pond. Each motion is gentle, yet the cumulative effect over centuries shapes the ring's appearance, creating the bright edges, gaps, and waves that captivate astronomers and dreamers alike. The shepherd moons remind us that beauty in the universe often arises from interplay and balance. They are small, almost inconsequential, yet their influence is far-reaching, demonstrating how subtle forces can maintain elegance over immense scales. In this cosmic choreography, we sense the patience of the universe, a rhythm measured not in seconds or minutes but in orbits and centuries. The dance of moons and particles is a meditation on order within motion, a lesson in harmony for those willing to pause and observe. And as the mind lingers on these quiet sculptors, a realization emerges. The rings are not static, nor are they random. Every shimmer, shadow, and wave is the result of countless interactions, guided by invisible hands of gravity. From the distant observer, the system appears perfect. From the intimate vantage, it is alive, evolving, endlessly fascinating. This harmony, born of imperceptible nudges and patient balance, invites reflection, a gentle bridge to the next meditation. Saturn's whispering waves, patterns etched by gravity across an infinite sea of ice and rock. Beneath the serene appearance of Saturn's rings, invisible forces stir with quiet persistence. Gravity, that unseen sculptor, orchestrates a subtle, rhythmic movement across the icy expanse. These are the density waves, the whispering pulses of a cosmic sea, rippling gently through billions of particles. Though imperceptible to the naked eye from Earth, they reveal themselves through careful observation, through the lenses of spacecraft like Cassini, and through the delicate mathematics that describe their patterns. Each wave tells a story of attraction, tug, and response, a conversation written in ice and rock. Imagine floating just above the rings, suspended in the dark, silent vacuum. Below, the particles glide in their ordered orbits, some tiny as grains of sand, others as large as houses. Gravity nudges each particle, sometimes imperceptibly, sometimes with enough force to create faint, spiraling ridges that stretch for hundreds of kilometers. These ridges move outward like echoes, subtle patterns of energy and motion, evidence of the invisible hand guiding them. There is a poetry here, a quiet rhythm that invites meditation, a whisper of time passing differently on a grand, cosmic scale. Density waves arise because of Saturn's moons. As these moons orbit the planet, their gravity tugs on the ring particles, creating compressions and rarefactions that propagate outward. It is a delicate dance. The particles do not collide chaotically but respond predictably, forming ripples that resemble gentle undulations on a frozen sea. These patterns are slow, almost imperceptible in human timescales, yet persistent over centuries, reminding us of the patience inherent in cosmic processes. The universe operates at a pace both deliberate and majestic. The waves are not mere scientific curiosities. They are visual poetry. Observed through imaging instruments, the rings reveal textures and patterns that seem alive, shifting with a grace that hints at both order and chaos. Golden sunlight glints off icy surfaces, accentuating subtle ridges, while shadows stretch along troughs of density, creating contrast that our eyes perceive as gentle motion. Here, science and meditation converge. To understand the waves is to witness a natural rhythm, a slow heartbeat of the cosmos. Even the tiniest waves carry significance. In some regions, they form faint spirals that twist across the rings, created by moons whose orbits resonate with specific particles. Each spiral is a record of gravitational interaction, a pattern that encodes information about the moon's mass, orbit, and influence. In essence, the rings are a cosmic ledger, recording the interplay of forces in a language of ripples and gaps. Floating above, one might imagine reading these patterns like Braille, feeling the texture of gravity itself beneath fingertips that exist only in imagination. There is also a subtle music to these waves. Though sound cannot travel in the vacuum of space, instruments like Cassini's radio and plasma detectors can translate particle interactions into frequencies we can hear. The result is a haunting symphony, a chorus of distant, ethereal sounds that transform mathematics and motion into auditory meditation. Listening to this, one feels the quiet dynamism of the universe, a constant yet gentle unfolding that contrasts with the noisy urgency of human life. The scale of these waves is staggering. While a ripple in water moves in moments, density waves in Saturn's rings propagate over thousands of kilometers, taking weeks or months to reach their destinations. Their movement is slow, deliberate, almost contemplative. Observing them invites reflection. The universe does not rush, yet it is always in motion. There is elegance in this patience, a lesson in harmony and persistence, a quiet reminder that even the smallest forces, repeated over time, can create patterns of immense beauty. Yet waves are also fragile. Collisions between particles, the gravitational influence of passing moons, and the subtle pressure of solar radiation can disrupt them, reshaping their structure and altering the rhythm. In this, one sees impermanence intertwined with continuity. The waves are never static, yet their presence endures. The rings themselves are alive, not in the sense of biology, but in the sense that they respond, adapt, and shift in response to countless forces. It is a living meditation, written in ice, rock, and gravity. As your mind drifts over these whispering waves, a sense of wonder settles in. The rings are more than frozen debris. They are dynamic, evolving sculptures, created by forces both visible and invisible. Each ripple, each spiral, each compression of particles is a testament to the quiet, inexorable power of natural law. Floating in this imagined space, one feels both insignificantly small and intimately connected, a participant in the slow unfolding of the universe. The whispering waves of Saturn's rings invite us to pause, to notice the beauty and subtlety, to recognize that even in silence, the cosmos is never still. They prepare the mind for the stories of exploration to come, as the Cassini spacecraft and other voyagers glide through these ripples, revealing secrets layer by layer. The next chapter will take us closer to these explorers, to the instruments and minds that pierce the distance, translating the language of Saturn's rings into tales we can understand and marvel at. Far beyond the reach of human hands, a mechanical traveler glides through the silence of Saturn's domain. The Cassini spacecraft, a creation of our curiosity and ingenuity, has become our eyes and ears in this distant world. Launched decades ago, it journeyed across the solar system, carrying instruments and hopes, finally arriving at the golden giant with its rings stretched like a crown. From the first approach to the final descent, Cassini revealed the subtle motions, the delicate structure, and the mysterious phenomena of Saturn's rings with unparalleled clarity. Its voyage is a testament to human ambition and the power of observation, a bridge between imagination and reality. Floating above the rings, one can almost sense Cassini slicing through gaps, coasting between icy particles the size of grains to those the size of houses. Instruments record their composition, motion, and distribution, turning invisible signals into data that scientists interpret as stories. We hear about the fine balance between collisions and cohesion, the gentle nudges from tiny moons, and the density waves rippling like whispers through frozen seas. Each byte of data is a quiet message from a place we can only imagine, translating the alien into something our minds can grasp. The spacecraft's instruments unveiled wonders that defied expectation. The rings, once thought to be smooth and uniform, proved complex beyond imagination. Some areas are densely packed with icy fragments, while others reveal vast gaps, almost eerily empty, stretching for thousands of kilometers. Some particles sparkle in sunlight, reflecting hints of their composition. Others absorb light, casting shadows across neighboring ice. The interplay of light and shadow, recorded meticulously by cameras and spectrometers, reveals a living tapestry that shifts slowly, quietly, as if breathing in the endless night. Cassini's daring dives between the rings and the planet, the so-called proximal orbits, allowed us to measure ring thickness directly. The rings are surprisingly thin, often only tens of meters thick, yet stretching outward for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Imagine an ice field so wide it defies comprehension, yet so delicately layered it could almost be mistaken for fragile parchment from afar. These measurements remind us of the scale and precision of natural architecture, a harmony created not by design but by the patient laws of physics. Unexpected phenomena emerged as well. Fine spokes appear across the rings, fleeting patterns that drift with time, influenced perhaps by Saturn's magnetic field. Tiny moons, shepherding edges and sculpting waves, sometimes cast subtle disturbances that ripple across icy expanses. Even subtle interactions with Saturn's atmosphere and magnetosphere create patterns detectable only by careful, patient observation. Each discovery feels like a whispered secret from the cosmos, waiting for a mind capable of interpreting it. The poetic aspect of Cassini's journey lies not only in the data but in the imagined experience of gliding alongside the spacecraft. Visualize the icy particles rushing past silently, glinting like distant stars in the sun's golden light. Feel the tension and calm coexisting. 1,000 tiny collisions per second, yet no chaos. Patterns forming naturally, perfectly balanced. The spacecraft is an observer in this grand ballet, silent and precise, capturing every nuance, every wave, every shadow, so that we on Earth may witness the spectacle through numbers, images, and interpretation. Through Cassini, the rings speak in ways they never have before. They tell us about age, formation, and ongoing evolution. They hint at transient features, fleeting changes, and structures that may disappear in mere centuries. A reminder of impermanence amidst seeming eternity. The spacecraft's orbiting cameras became our eyes, its sensors our fingertips, translating the touch of gravity, magnetism, and solar radiation into forms we can appreciate. There is an intimacy in this translation. The distance between observer and observed collapses through science and imagination. Cassini also reminded us of the human connection to Saturn. For centuries, astronomers marveled at the rings with telescopes, speculated about their composition, and named gaps and divisions. Now we can witness them in detail, yet the sense of wonder remains unchanged. The rings are simultaneously familiar and alien, a reminder that discovery does not diminish awe, but deepens it. The spacecraft extends our senses, but it cannot replace the quiet meditation of imagining the rings from a suspended point above, feeling the slow rhythm of ice and rock beneath us. As the mission progressed, Cassini revealed the ultimate truth of the rings. They are dynamic, changing, evolving. Their beauty is not static. It is alive in motion, sculpted by moons, waves, and gravity. The spacecraft's final act, its deliberate descent into Saturn's atmosphere, became a poignant farewell, a reminder that exploration is finite, even when wonder is eternal. Yet the data it transmitted continues to resonate, guiding our imagination and deepening our appreciation for the intricate, delicate, and majestic patterns encircling the planet. The voyage of Cassini is a meditation on patience, curiosity, and persistence. It encourages us to reflect on the nature of observation, that even from afar, we can connect, understand, and marvel. The spacecraft is more than a machine. It is an extension of our consciousness, carrying the quiet human desire to know, to see, and to wonder. Its journey prepares us for the next layer of contemplation, the motion, evolution, and fleeting artistry of the rings themselves, reminding us that beauty exists not only in permanence but in continuous transformation. The rings of Saturn, though seemingly eternal, are in constant motion. Every particle, from the tiniest icy grain to the house-sized boulder, drifts along its orbit, colliding, bouncing, and adjusting in a silent, slow-motion dance. Over centuries and millennia, these collisions spread the rings outward, shaping gaps, waves, and streams. Imagine the subtle rhythm of motion, imperceptible to human eyes, yet shaping the structure and character of the rings across eons. This quiet motion, so precise and orderly, is the heartbeat of a cosmic work of art, evolving far beyond our daily experience of time. Collisions within the rings are gentle yet relentless. When ice fragments collide, they exchange energy, altering their paths minutely. Over time, countless interactions like this distribute material across the rings, preventing clumping and maintaining the thin, delicate layers that define their appearance. The rings are alive in a sense, sustained not by force, but by countless tiny, repeated gestures, a slow choreography guided by gravity and inertia. Each particle contributes to a collective motion, a perpetual ballet of ice and rock stretching across the solar system. Not all motion is serene. Occasionally, disturbances ripple through the rings, triggered by gravitational nudges from Saturn's moons or the planet's own subtle wobble. Density waves travel across the icy expanse, compressing particles in some regions while leaving others sparse. Spiral patterns emerge, faint yet visible, echoing the dynamic complexity of the cosmos. These waves are quiet reminders that motion and change are the only constants, even in systems that appear unchanging from a distance. The rings are a lesson in patience, illustrating that slow, almost imperceptible shifts create the grandeur we perceive. The lifespan of Saturn's rings is another dimension of their motion. Though they may seem eternal, evidence suggests that the rings are transient, perhaps only a few 100 million years old. Collisions, meteoroid impacts, and interactions with Saturn's magnetosphere slowly erode the icy particles, sending them spiraling toward the planet. This gradual fading is a subtle reminder that all things in the universe, no matter how vast or radiant, are subject to change. Observing the rings is to witness both beauty and impermanence, a meditation on the fragile yet persistent nature of cosmic structures. As the rings shift and evolve, they also interact with light in constantly changing patterns. Sunlight glances off moving ice fragments, casting glimmers and shadows that dance across gaps and waves. These reflections create a living mosaic of brightness and shadow, ever-changing as particles orbit at different speeds and inclinations. From afar, the rings appear solid and permanent, yet up close, they reveal their transient, dynamic nature, a shimmering tapestry of motion captured in moments of illumination. This interplay of light and movement evokes a quiet awe, inviting reflection on the impermanent yet continuous rhythm of nature. The ring's motion also mirrors broader themes in the universe. Just as particles within them are governed by gravity and momentum, celestial bodies from planets to galaxies evolve through constant interaction and subtle forces. Observing the rings, we see a microcosm of cosmic dynamics, where even small elements contribute to larger patterns. Their gentle shifts, colliding and drifting, remind us that change is not chaotic but often orderly, a balance of forces creating harmony in apparent randomness. The rings, in their ceaseless motion, become a metaphor for life itself. Intricate, evolving, and profoundly interconnected. Consider the scale of this movement. Each orbit takes hours, days, or years depending on distance from Saturn. Inner ring particles revolve quickly, tracing circles around the planet in hours, while outer regions drift slowly, taking longer to complete their journey. The variation in speed produces subtle shears, contributing to the formation of waves and edges. Over time, these differences sculpt the rings, maintaining the delicate structures that make Saturn's crown so remarkable. Motion, then, is not merely displacement. It is creation, maintenance, and artistry on a scale that dwarfs human comprehension. The dynamic nature of the rings also affects how we study them. Spacecraft like Cassini observed subtle changes, tracking collisions, wave propagation, and shifts in particle density over time. Even small variations, imperceptible from Earth, provide insights into the forces shaping the rings. We learn that motion is not random chaos but a predictable, measurable flow guided by physics, yet imbued with an aesthetic elegance. The rings move as if choreographed, and in observing them, we glimpse a universe that is both rational and deeply beautiful. Meditatively, one can imagine floating above the rings, drifting alongside countless icy particles in silence. The collisions are faint whispers, the waves gentle undulations, and the gaps inviting moments of contemplation. Motion becomes a form of music, a cosmic rhythm that persists quietly through space and time. This perspective invites serenity, a reflection on the balance between change and continuity, the ephemeral and the enduring. Saturn's rings are not static jewelry. They are living, evolving, and timelessly mesmerizing. As we watch the rings in motion, we begin to sense a new layer of connection to the universe, to its slow, deliberate processes, and to our own lives. Just as the rings evolve, so do we, part of a larger dance that stretches across space and time. Their beauty is not only in their appearance but in their motion, in the invisible forces that orchestrate their continuous transformation. Preparing to look outward, we are ready to compare Saturn's rings with others in the solar system, appreciating the uniqueness and fleeting artistry of this majestic crown. Saturn's rings are unrivaled in scale and splendor, yet they are not alone. Other planets in our solar system carry their own bands of debris, faint whispers of the grandeur that Saturn exhibits. Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune each host rings, but these are subtle, almost ethereal, barely catching the light of the sun. They are reminders that ring systems are not unique, but Saturn's remains the crown jewel, a luminous spectacle visible even through modest telescopes from Earth. Observing these planetary siblings invites reflection on diversity in cosmic architecture, how different conditions create variations on a common theme. Jupiter's rings are faint and narrow, composed primarily of dark dust particles kicked up from small moons by micrometeoroid impacts. Unlike Saturn's glimmering ice, Jupiter's rings absorb more light than they reflect, appearing as subtle halos rather than radiant bands. Their delicate, ephemeral quality gives them a ghostly presence, almost imperceptible, unless captured by spacecraft. In the dim glow of the giant planet, one can almost imagine the rings whispering, a soft counterpart to Saturn's dazzling display. They remind us that beauty can be quiet, that not all splendor demands brilliance. Uranus presents a different type of subtlety. Its rings are dark, narrow, and sharply defined, like inked lines drawn across the planet's pale azure sphere. Discovered only in the 1970s, these rings are relatively young, ancient yet fleeting in cosmic terms. Each ring is composed of rock and ice, small particles moving in precise orbits, sculpted by tiny moons or unseen gravitational influences. From a distance, Uranus appears almost serene, its rings whispering secrets of a planet that turns on its side, tilting the solar system's conventional orientation. They evoke quiet contemplation, a hidden beauty waiting for patient eyes to notice. Neptune's rings share characteristics with Uranus, faint but intriguing, marked by clumps and arcs that hint at complex gravitational dynamics. These incomplete rings are uneven, showing gaps and dense arcs, sculpted by tiny shepherd moons. Their uneven patterns suggest ongoing change, capturing a moment in a slow, persistent evolution. Neptune's rings are subtle in color and visibility, yet rich in scientific meaning, revealing processes that govern celestial mechanics. They remind us that motion and structure in the cosmos exist on scales and patterns far beyond human perception, yet they are accessible to the careful observer who seeks understanding. Comparing these planetary rings to Saturn's reveals the uniqueness of the golden giant's crown. Saturn's rings extend hundreds of thousands of kilometers from the planet, brilliantly reflecting sunlight in icy glory. Their sheer brightness and intricate structures, gaps, waves, spokes, and shadows, create a tapestry unmatched in complexity and visual impact. While other planets host rings, Saturn's are massive, intricate, and enduring, a spectacle born of both chance and cosmic order. Observing these differences evokes wonder, reminding us how the same forces, gravity, collisions, and orbital dynamics, can produce such dramatically varied results across the solar system. The variations among these rings also reflect their history and evolution. Saturn's icy splendor contrasts with the darker, rockier rings of Uranus and Neptune, shaped by their unique compositions, gravitational influences, and ages. Jupiter's dust rings suggest a more fragile, transient system, where even slight disturbances can erode the delicate balance. Through these comparisons, we begin to see patterns emerge. Massive planets with strong gravity can maintain extensive, stable rings, while smaller or more dynamically active systems produce more modest features. This knowledge deepens our appreciation for Saturn, highlighting why its rings inspire awe and poetic contemplation. Poetically, we might imagine Saturn's rings as a crown, radiant and commanding, while the other planetary rings are delicate jewelry, subtle adornments, or whispers in shadow. Each system has its own story, its own rhythm of motion, collisions, and evolution. As we drift through the imagination of these distant worlds, we sense the quiet diversity of the cosmos. Grandeur need not be uniform, and beauty takes many forms. In this meditation, we also recognize our own curiosity and longing, the human desire to see, compare, and understand the universe. The experience of observing rings, whether through telescopes, photographs, or spacecraft, connects us to both science and wonder. We trace patterns of light, motion, and structure across vast distances, linking human perception with cosmic processes. Saturn teaches us about scale, permanence, and fleeting change, while the fainter rings of other planets whisper humility, patience, and quiet observation. Together, they offer a meditation on the variety and interconnectedness of celestial phenomena, inviting calm reflection on how the universe creates diversity within order. As we turn our gaze from planetary rings to the human experience of witnessing them, we realize the intimate connection between our minds and the cosmos. Whether observing with naked eyes, a telescope, or through spacecraft data, we share in the act of marveling at Saturn's crown and its subtle companions. This reflection bridges science with poetry, logic with awe, and curiosity with meditation. Preparing to conclude our journey, we lift our eyes in wonder, imagining Saturn in the night sky, feeling small yet profoundly connected to the universe around us. Imagine standing beneath a night sky, where the vast darkness stretches infinitely above, studded with scattered points of starlight. Somewhere out there, Saturn orbits the sun, its golden rings catching the distant sunlight and reflecting it faintly toward Earth. Though you cannot see each particle spinning in delicate harmony, you feel the presence of that immense, intricate beauty. The mind stretches to encompass both the enormity of space and the fragile intimacy of observation, a moment of quiet awe that calms the racing thoughts of daily life. In your imagination, Saturn hangs like a lantern, suspended in the cosmic night. Its rings shimmer with icy brilliance, glints of sunlight catching the edge of each band, spinning silently in gravitational balance. Each particle, a grain of dust, a shard of ice, a fragment of rock, moves according to ancient rhythms that predate humanity. You sense not only the mechanics of their motion, but the poetry embedded in their endless cycles, a reminder that the universe operates on scales both grand and subtle. Gazing upward allows your mind to drift, to float alongside the rings themselves. You imagine the gentle collisions of ice and rock, the whispers of shepherd moons nudging particles into new paths, the slow evolution of waves and arcs. Time itself seems to stretch, a soft, flowing continuum, where the present blends seamlessly with eons past and millennia yet to come. In this perspective, human concerns shrink, not in insignificance, but in gentle contrast to the serenity of cosmic order. There is a meditative clarity in seeing that patterns, forces, and beauty exist independent of our own making. Saturn's rings remind us of the duality of permanence and impermanence. Ice can endure for millennia, yet the rings themselves are transient in the scale of the cosmos, spreading, colliding, evolving. Observing them evokes a reflection on life's own fleeting rhythms. The brilliance you see is the result of countless tiny interactions, each imperceptible in isolation yet magnificent in totality. It is a lesson in patience and perspective, an invitation to contemplate how small, consistent actions can shape larger patterns, whether in planetary rings or in our own lives. As your thoughts wander through the solar system, you sense the connection between Earth and Saturn, between observer and observed. Though separated by hundreds of millions of kilometers, a quiet link exists through light, imagination, and knowledge. Each scientific discovery, each photograph from a spacecraft, each calculation of orbit and composition becomes a bridge across space and time. You feel part of something larger, a participant in the ongoing story of exploration, wonder, and understanding. Consider the ancient stargazers who first glimpsed Saturn with their naked eyes. Through centuries, humans have pointed telescopes upward, sketched the faint rings, recorded their motions, and sent robotic emissaries across the solar system. Every observation adds depth to our collective understanding, yet every discovery also opens new questions. The rings remain mysterious, their origins debated, their evolution ongoing. In this tension between knowledge and mystery, there is a gentle beauty, a meditative pause that invites reflection rather than resolution. Turning your imagination back to the visual splendor, Saturn's rings shimmer with colors imperceptible from Earth. Soft golds, subtle blues, and silvery whites, each hue shaped by the composition and angle of sunlight. Shadows stretch across gaps and bands, creating patterns that shift and evolve as the planet orbits the sun. The effect is like watching a living work of art, infinite in complexity, ever-changing yet stable in its fundamental structure. Your mind can wander freely here, tracing arcs and edges, imagining the silent music of motion and gravity. In these moments, gazing upward becomes an act of meditation. You release tension, inviting a sense of wonder to wash over you. Thoughts of daily life fade into the background, replaced by a sense of calm curiosity. The universe feels alive yet gentle, vast yet accessible to perception and imagination. Saturn's rings become a mirror for your own capacity to observe, to reflect, and to feel awe, a reminder that beauty and mystery exist just beyond reach, always inviting us to look closer. As your contemplation deepens, you recognize that Saturn's rings are more than a celestial spectacle. They are a symbol of human curiosity, a reminder that the mind can explore vast distances, that imagination can bridge the gap between tiny Earth and sprawling cosmos. They are a meditation on harmony, chaos, and the subtle interplay of forces that create both order and wonder. And as you slowly drift towards sleep, these reflections settle softly in your mind, offering a gentle journey into dream, guided by the golden light of distant rings. Allow yourself to linger here a moment longer, imagining the serene rotations, the soft whispers of gravity, the timeless dance of ice and rock. Feel the calm, the awe, the connectedness, and the quiet joy of witnessing something larger than yourself. Saturn's rings are more than distant objects. They are companions for the mind, gentle guides into the vast, mysterious night, carrying you slowly toward rest and wonder. As we drift back from the golden glow of Saturn's rings, take a moment to feel the quiet of the cosmos settling around you. The icy particles, the shepherd moons, the whispering waves. They continue their eternal dance, far beyond our reach, yet somehow connected to us through curiosity, imagination, and wonder. We have glimpsed the harmony within chaos, the fleeting beauty of patterns that last millennia, and the serene rhythm of forces that shape worlds. Perhaps you feel a soft awe lingering in your mind, a gentle reminder of how small, yet significant, our place in the universe can feel. Saturn's rings, magnificent and mysterious, invite us to see both the grandeur of the cosmos and the quiet poetry in its details. In their light, you can release tension, let thoughts slow, and allow wonder to carry you into the calm of the night. If this journey has sparked your curiosity or lifted your imagination, consider sharing where you are watching from in the comments, and subscribe to The Thoughtful Night to join us on more quiet explorations of the universe. Let your dreams drift among distant worlds. Let your mind float with the cosmic dance. and may the serenity of Saturn's rings accompany you into restful sleep.